Okay, then welcome everyone to episode 2 of our Changing Transport Insights webinar. This is a format where we tell stories of change from the perspective of GIZ as an international technical assistance agency. And with this format, we intend to share with the wider transport development and climate community about the interesting activities that we have done, about the results that we have achieved, and also about the lessons that we have learned in the process. And in the next 45 minutes, approximately, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, we will hear for about 15 to 20 minutes from our colleagues from Colombia, a presentation about the work that they have done, and then we have time left, maybe 20 minutes for questions and answers. So I'm looking forward to an interactive discussion. The presentation today is in the framework of the transfer project. So this is a story from Colombia. Colombia is a very special partner of the transfer project, which is funded by the German government International Climate Initiative. It's a very special partner because there's a very long history of cooperation between the transfer project and Colombia. Colombia has been a partner of the transfer project for the past 13 years. So the cooperation spreads across phase number 1, phase 2, and 3 of the transfer project. In each phase, there was a different focus of cooperation. The story that we are going to hear today from the colleagues is from transfer 3. Presenting today will be Andrés Martínez and Alejandro Ceballos Jaraba from GIZ Colombia. So welcome to the two of you. Maybe you can turn on your cameras now so we can also see and welcome you. Okay.
Hey, everyone. I
Okay.
don't have the best connection right now, so please tell me if you have any issues with the sound or anything, please.
Cool. Perfectly audible. There's no issue.
Okay, nice. So it is really nice to be again with you at these times in the morning in Colombia. It's been a while also since I present anything in English. It's been like almost like a year since we started to close the project in Colombia. So I'm really happy to be here. My name is Andrés Martínez. I work currently in the Colombian bilateral mobility project here in Colombia, which I think is also one, at least is partly due to the work that transferred here in the country for a while. I'm here with my colleague Alejandro Ceballos, who was also part of the project, and I think he has his camera on as well. And we were the change in transport, I will say, not only transfer team here in Colombia for the last part of the project, and we're really happy to share with you. I think we can say a short, small experience that we have regarding building training for e-mobility technicians in the country, but with a gender perspective, which I think is a really important part of what we would like to present today. So Alejandro, I don't know if you want to make any comment to start. Otherwise, we can.
No, thank you everyone for being here. We are going to explain, as Andres just mentioned, a really nice experience that we had in Transfer 3. So we hope you enjoy our lessons learned.
Okay, so I will start first giving you a little context from the country. Then we will talk about the different commitments regarding climate change, especially mitigation in the country, the interventions from transfer here in Colombia, like the overall strategy that we followed in the last intervention of transfer in the country. And then we are gonna give you some insights about the work that we did with these trainings. So Colombia, okay, so Please let me know if you are following the presentation. Colombia, we are a Latin American country. We are roughly 55 million. We are in the north of South America. It is a really special country because we are divided by the Andes chain mountain. So that bring us a lot of logistic challenges. It brings a lot of logistic challenges that it is at least presented, or that is shown in the overall country GHG scenarios. So we roughly emit around 240 million tons per year of equivalent CO2. We try to mitigate or compensate that with some, I will say, forestry activities, mostly conservation of the Amazonas and some Andean forest. But we have still some, even though we only emit like 0.3% of the GHG gases in the world, we still show some of the challenges that are like common in the, I will say, footprint of any developing country. So the first thing, due to some, I will say, national conditions, deforestation is a huge issue, and forestry as well with cattle raising. The deforestation is it is the most important GHG source in the country. But beyond that, after we look at it, the second most important GHG emission is fuel consumption, mostly liquid fuels, and is mostly used for energy, energy for transportation. So we don't have like most of our transport is liquid based. All of our logistics, like I love Alejandro's cut. Most of our logistics, it is done with freight. So that is shown in our emissions. So around roughly 12% of all the emissions in the country come from the energy for transport. And as I was telling you, it's mostly diesel fuel emissions and gasoline emissions. So this is translated into the country's NDC portfolio, which focuses mostly in the fleet renewals. Mostly, it tried to tackle the rapid automation of and the growth of individual transport in the cities. Motorization is a huge issue. Many people decide to start utilizing motorcycles, and some people cars in the cities, to start to try to transport themselves in the cities and also in the suburban areas. And even though only 4% of the emissions in the country come from heavy duty vehicles, these are like really legacy and old fleets. Most of them are Euro 2 or pre-Euro. So that translates also really into really high emissions in transportation. So the country, like being aware of this, presented an NDC for at least for the latest NDC proposal made in 2021. It considered 4 activities or 4 measures, and the first one was electromobility, like transitioning into electromobility, with a phasing out, starting with public transportation and then to individual transportation, moving to individual transportation. Then one of the most important challenges or objectives is looking for fleet renovation and stretching, and then going with intermodality, looking for some rail and fluvial transportation, changing into active mobility and demand management, starting demand management activities, considering transit-oriented development. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. I can still see the country context slide.
Oh, really sorry.
Okay, need to...
Better? Yeah, sorry. going to transit-oriented development, and maybe consider some internal performance-based navigation for aviation. So that is basically the portfolio here in the country. So considering that and the challenges of the country, Transfer has been working in Colombia since its beginning in 2011. It was present during its 3 phases. It started with Transfer 1, in which GIZ with the program supported the country building up a heavy-duty scratching mechanism, the heavy-duty scratching mechanism that is actually in place. Then in Transfer 2, we work with everything regarding active mobility with what is called the tandem NAMA, where it takes into account active mobility and image management. And in the latest transfer, in Transfer 3, we work in a e-bus program, which initially it was thought to be a proposal for the GCF, but it changed during our work in the country. So we started building just a proposal, but after many considerations, we joined a different GCF project, like a regional GCF project, and we ended up having like the challenge to build a programmatic approach towards e-bus electrification in the country. So this was mostly like focused into building the regulatory and financial mechanisms that could lead the country into transition. But as with always with Transfer, we always try to cover like 4 dimensions: the financial one, the technical one, governance, and MRB. And given like the general conditions, like the national conditions of the program, the technical one, it was always a challenge because we were always working in building these financial mechanisms to make the transition possible, to finance operators and cities. But if there was always like these questions, okay, what are we going to do technically to allow for this transition? And I don't know if you know, Colombia had like a really a strong development of e-buses during 2020 and to 2019 and 2020. Bogota became the second largest or the first largest, or with the city with the first largest electric fleet outside China in the world, followed by Santiago de Chile. And the change was really fast, and we tried, like our challenge was trying to really harmonize our efforts and bring the technical um, programs and proposals that could really help the country to make this rapid transition. And one of the things that we found out, was this acceleration generated a lack of technical. One of the things that we identified, that there was like a lack of technical capacities in the overall market for drivers and operators and technicians of e-buses in the country. So like many cities were interested at least in making the investments, but they didn't have like the enough capacities and professionals and technicians to really do this transition and to have like electric fleets. So taking this into consideration, that we really had to work on these technical aspects, and it was not only normalizing and standardizing, but also trying to build these technical capacities, and taking into account that one of the issues that we were since the beginning also struggling to tackle was how to include gender issues into the transitions, because we were, as I was telling you, we were like a really national program, so it was really difficult to permeate into the specific projects. Was also gender. At that point, Alejandro joined the team, and we started to discuss, okay, what can we do? What can we propose to the country that can tackle these 2 things? The technical transition, like how to create the capacities, but also do it with a gender's perspective. And in that point, we came with this program that Alejandro is going to tell you a little bit, with this activity that we did with our counterpart. So Alejandro, I don't know if you would like to start here.
Yeah, thank you, Andres. So in this context, as Andres explained, before. So we have come to realize that in this technological transition, going to electrical fleet buses, and given that we were going to need some technical capacities for driving and also for maintenance and reparation of the vehicles, we have found a opportunity to include women in this part of the employability, part of the value chain of the transportation transition. So we decided to analyze the value chain of transport and identify which exactly were the gaps and how we were going to cover it. So first of all, we, with our counterparts, we decided to discuss and come to an agreement with the National Learning System, the SENA, to include a capacity development training course in order to fill those gaps that we were trying to identify. Then we started to make a diagnosis capacity, and as I explained before, we identify in the value chain where those gaps and how we're going to fill it up. Then we identify the current offer of the technicians and drivers and how we could improve such offer. Then we made a market study, which a benchmark, taking national and international reference to create this curriculum that we wanted to do. And also we identify the key capacities and roles need to supply the market here in Colombia. And then we identify those gender barriers. No, the last one, just, yeah, thank you. The gender barriers and accessibilities and accessibility into the transportation system. And finally, we made up with this information that we gather, especially with the capacity diagnosis and the market study, we came up with a curriculum proposal. So we designed a curriculum and then we integrate that curriculum with the current offer that the SENA and other institutions here in Colombia already has. And we, of course, identify how much this curriculum were going to cost. Next. The implementation of such curriculum were going to cost. So here we identify the barriers in public transportation employability, and with interviews and literature review, we decided to go into four main critical aspects. So the first one, it was the access and permanence barrier built by the occupational segregation, stereotypes, and role associated with gender reasons. So given that transportation is a sector that it's already very masculinized, yeah, I don't know that word exactly in Spanish. It's mainly, it's in English, sorry. It's mainly, yeah, drives by men. So we wanted to identify yeah, to how to involve women in the value of chain. Then we identified the individual barriers. So how and why women are not getting into the value of chain of the transportation sector. So is it an absence of abilities or skills or knowledge, or a difficult to meet the requirement in selection process? Then we identify the organizational barriers. So how the requirements demanded by the companies when they were searching for profiles to fill these gaps were permeated with these stereotypes, these cultural stereotypes and roles that we have associated traditionally with women. And finally, the environmental barriers. So with a set of circumstances or social, cultural, moral, economic, political factors that are affecting the labor inclusion of job seekers. So here we analyze and we have found that in every major city in Colombia, there was a very few women already in the value of chain. So as I mentioned earlier, we have come to know that in this technological transition, we were going to need a lot of people. So why not to make that people women to try to close that gender gap as well. Next. So here, we analyze every aspect in the value of chain, and then like this is so little, sorry. So we identify every aspect in the value of chain, and um, especially in the production and assembly, and in the operational part, in the maintenance of the vehicles, we have found that there was a lack of human capital already available per vehicle. And on the other hand, we have found as well that the offer for drivers were very high already. I mean, compared to the electromechanic technicians, the driver available human resources, it was already high. So we wanted to concentrate our efforts in the electromechanic technicians in order also to close that gap. So we selected this key technical role to develop a new curriculum and respond to the demand growth, the economical impact, the accessibility, and the completeness of this program that we were structuring. So next, here we decided still to focus, of course, in drivers, but our main attention were going to be for electromechanical technicians. So we identified the courses that already was available in the country, and then we started to close those gaps in our curriculum design. So with the National Apprentice System, we built 3 levels. One, focus on how to sensibilize these current people which were already working in the value of chain of transportation. Then one more focus on how to qualify these people if they wanted to shift to an electromechanical technician role, or new people to get on board as an electromechanical technician. And the last one, it was an expert course in order for them to be able not just to drive, but also to be an electromechanical technician, like to complete the overall circle. And all of these levels, they were also transversalizated with a gender component. So we wanted everyone, even men that were already working in the value of chain of these transportation systems in Colombia, to get to know the importance of being able to look after women, not just as a driver or as an electromechanical technician, but also as a passengers. So we also sensibilize them on how to act if a situation arises when they were driving the bus, for example, with a passenger, and they were seeing a woman being harassed, for example. So there was a protocol on how they must act, not just women, but also men in such cases. Next. And finally, so our lessons and outlook. So it's very important to work with the counterpart to identify the real needs and get their support from the beginning, because sometimes we want to do a lot, but if we have to take account that this is their project and this is their their plans and their strategies. So we as a corporation, we just help them to achieve such goals. So it's very important to work with them and try to fill the gaps that they wanted to be filled. So it's also very important to identify the market needs in order to go into the correct path. Then it's very important to consider the gender barriers as an opportunity to make new proposal. We sometimes just as a technical advisor tend just to go into the very deep technical activities, and we don't take into account these social issues that are also very important, and not just for as our activities as a cooperation, but also for them as a counterparts. So yeah. So I don't know if you have questions, or Andres wants to add something before we go to the discussion part.
No, I'm okay, Alejandro, thank you. So I don't know if you would like to make any questions. Thank you, everyone.
First of all, thank you, Andres, and thank you, Alejandro, for this great presentation and your insights. Really nice practical case of technical assistance, developing a training program for this important EBUS topic or electric mobility. I have a question, or actually two questions, and I encourage everyone else, of course, also to raise questions or to comment. My first question is, this training curriculum that has been developed, has it already been implemented, or what's the plan for implementation? I'm curious, like, is there like a, do you also see the demand that you had predicted for this training program, or have actual participants been trained? That's the first question regarding, let's say, the use of this output. And the second question is, can you give like an example for this mechanics training, how this was made more gender sensitive?
Okay, maybe kind of start. So thank you, Friedel, for your first question. We finished like this proposal by the beginning of the current government in the country. It is okay. So how it went, and when we said it was really important to work with the counterpart, is that when we start to consider how to really approach this issue with our counterpart of the Colombian Minister of Transportation, and after we had like the general idea, actually it was the former minister, she sent a request to SENA to put it into their offer. SENA is the, as I think Alejandro explained it, is the national learning system, is like the entity that train technicians in the country. So the offer is already there. To be honest, I'm not aware if they have give the first training so far. I don't know, Alejandro, if you know if they have already. I think they haven't yet, but it's part of the offer right now.
Yeah, they haven't yet because they are still structuring which professors, teachers are going to deliver the courses and how they are going to integrate with the current offer that they have. But it was also mainly because the change of national government. Yeah, this project was in the middle of a national government change, so priorities have shifted a little bit. So we are aware that they want to implement it, but they are still managing some few details to put the offer in there for people to take the courses. And regarding the other question, I don't know if Andres wants to.
Yeah, I wanted to make an introduction into it. Yeah, and as per the second question, I mean, at the end, a technician is a technician. It should have like the main capacities for it. I think during the consultancies and everything to build this, it was really weird because the people in charge of doing the technical proposals for the curriculums, they were always saying, okay, but this cannot be taken by women because they are not strong enough, or because they are not really into these topics. Mostly, I remember this conversation around electricity safety activities, or picking and working with high loads. So that was really funny. So like this, I will say before giving the passing it to Alejandro, it has two aspects. Like as Alejandro told you, the roles were presented at three levels, like from the very basic to the expert one. And the technical content, I think, is the same, but there are some other parts that are included as part of the gender sensitivity. So first of all, like the in general of the like the special topics, it is always said that it should be open and should be like the teachers should be able to really include women and be able to include them into the activity, into the technical activities. But also, there is also a sensibilization part into every training. So, for example, for the very basic one, there is a whole module into gender sensitivity aspects. So I don't know, Alejandro, if you want to continue to this.
Yeah, one of the critical aspects here, it was, as Andres already pointed out, a cultural issue. So women are not willing to be electromechanical technician, or at least the most of the women doesn't want to don't want to participate as an electromechanical technician because they see this activity as a manly activity. So how to change this perception of what is correct and what is not. So this is also a cultural aspect. So we were talking a lot with the systems, with the transportation systems. So when they put a when they are seeking for a new employees, also they have to represent women in such visual pieces, or in the offer they can mention that this is also offer for women, so they can be included, because yeah, language and representation is important for women also to feel part of. So this is one aspect that we started and we wanted to sensibilize with. And the other one, it's already, if we already got women into the courses, and of course they were going to share the courses with men, how to make them shift from that perspective that this is a work just for men, to understand that women also can do this kind of work. So we did a very comprehensive international assessment, and we have come up with some really interesting. They are more careful when they are manipulating this kind of stuff related with electrical issues. So the risk, it's very low when they are operating and when they are doing the maintenance in opposed to the men. Men are more easygoing, so they sometimes are more yeah, they are not very careful when they are manipulating the batteries, for instance. So yeah, so women and also when they are driving, so women have more less um, traffic sinisters. So these were key for us to explain how women are important in this value of change, so that we are need that we need to integrate them into these jobs.
Great, thank you. It's good to hear that the training is institutionalized, and thanks for the extra insights into the curriculum and the gender's perspective. Are there further questions from our audience here? Say, please just open your microphone, open your camera, jump in. Yes, Zawadi? You have raised your hand.
Sorry, yes, I had some problems trying to activate my microphone. I have a question regarding if there is some previous experience in these courses, how they, I don't know if there's some previous experience, how they impact women, or how has been the yeah, the acceptance of this topic in women, that like did they really try to sign out for these courses, or is something to consider and to have in mind from previous experiences that you have?
Alejandro,
Yeah,
to be honest, Swadi, I didn't get the question completely, but yeah, I think Alejandro, if you can answer.
yeah. Here in Colombia, we have a really nice experience with Tumi. Actually, they are training women to be drivers, and these training courses has been made also with the national apprentice system, the national learning system, SENA. But it's a pilot that they are doing here just in Bogota. And given that transfer is a national program, I mean, supporting the national government, so we wanted also to take lessons learned from that pilot that a national learning system along with Tumi we're doing here in Bogota, and to replicate it and escalate it at a national level. So we actually, yeah, we took these lessons learned from other programs in GIZ and also from the national learning system that they have already implemented, and we upscale them and fill another gaps, because this program, as I mentioned, that the one that they have been doing with Bogota is just for drivers. So they are training women to be drivers for electric buses. But in our market study, we identified that actually drivers is not a problem. I mean, we have plenty of drivers. So the gaps were focused mainly in electromechanical technicians. So we wanted to combine those experiences with our findings, and then we came up with this curriculum, um, of course, integrating these past experiences that the national learning system had. I don't know if I answer your question, Swati.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I was curious about that part, if they, if you had any experience before. So yeah, I totally get that it's yeah, that it, you have this program with Tumi, and then it's like some gap into, yeah, technicians. That's good to know.
Yeah, and it was also it was because this 2Me pilot, it was concentrated mainly in Bogota, yeah, and we wanted to do something broader for the national government.
Okay, good to hear that you'd made use of experiences from the Transformative Urban Mobility Initiative, and you were able to scale it up and expand it, yeah, by further curricula. It's always nice when GIZ projects or projects for different donors work together so constructively in a country. So great highlight, and thank you also for the question, Suadi. With that, I think we should come to a conclusion. Thank you again, Alejandro and Andres, for this interesting presentation on training electromobility technicians with a gender perspective in Colombia. I think quite a unique insight. I would like to announce that we are continuing the Changing Transport webinar series in March, on 10th of March, 2 p.m. Central European time, with a presentation from China this time on the story of China's electric vehicle uptake. So stay tuned for more information on the next episode, and thank you for joining today. Thank you.